Welcome to the 34 Motorsports Product Showcase. We're proud to offer the full line of Simpson Racing safety products. The Shark Speedway is a perfect brain bucket to keep your melon as safe as possible. We carry every model and size of Hans device, and these have saved countless lives. The Hybrid Pro Lite is an alternative to the Hans device and is just as effective. The DNA 3-layer suit offers maximum protection when things get hot. And hey dude, those comfy shoes won't help one bit when things go south. Keep those hands ready to work with a pair of Vortex Fia Gloves meeting every current standard. From 5 to 7 points, we carry every one of the Simpson Harnesses, keeping your rear end right where it should be. Keep all your gear clean and together with the helmet and FHR bag, and always be ready to hop in a race car. Visit 34motorsports.com and order today.
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Championship Night here for the Sim Racers Club here on the National Racing Network. My name is Chris Graham. It is a pleasure to have you hanging out with us here. Well, you can see we got some of the new graphics up here. Clear them out of the way. Joining me tonight in the booth will be our buddy Patrick Byrne. Looking forward to a fun night of racing. 11-car field here, bigger than we've seen the last couple of weeks. Should be an interesting race here. And Patrick, hearing that the fuel number is going to be 72 to 75 laps, that's not a crazy fuel save to make this a one-stop race.
No, not at all. Really, it's going to be I'm going to use Ozzy Osbourne's words here, just balls to the wall kind of race it out, try and get those championship points. We've already got first place kind of secured, second place I believe secured as well, but it's really going to be a race for third I believe at this point.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here as we head into things. Johnny Avila will be your series champion, and let's pick up, we'll pick up Tim Knott here in the number 41 machine as he heads out onto the racetrack for qualifying. Johnny Avila sitting on 349 points. Joseph Seville, 37 points back. Nobody is going to catch Johnny Avila. But Tyler Seville has locked in second in points. He has a 17-point gap over Kevin Stone. So what we're really talking about here is a great battle for third. AJ Digby, Troy Haight, and Kevin Stone separated by 4 points, 295, 293, 291. That's going to be a fun one to watch tonight. And what we're hearing from the drivers is this car is a handful, similar to what we saw at Las Vegas, but more predictable is kind of what the number was that we were hearing from the drivers. Is it sort of felt like you could catch the setup a little faster.
And that's good to hear. I like hearing that drivers have a tough car to drive and really have to fight with the car, not only race the competition, but race the track and the car. But when the car is just too snappy loose like we saw at Las Vegas, you don't get any car versus car racing. It's all driver versus car racing. And that, while it's fun to watch in qualifying, maybe practice, you get a few good wrecks, it's not fun to race with. So tonight, hoping we see a great package.
Mike Mcconville heading to the top of the speed charts, 30.740 seconds. Average lap speed of 155.758 miles per hour. Troy Haight going to be second on the board at a 31.08 second, 154.054. 7 cars have already taken time One guy who's about to cross the start-finish line and kick off his night of champions is the 63 of Johnny Avila. I'm not sure what more we can say about this guy here tonight, Patrick. I mean, 8 races, 5 poles, 6 wins, 7 top 5 finishes. It's as dominant of a season as I think you can possibly have. And the only guy who's even close to him on incidents per race is Carlos Acosta, who only made 3 starts.
I was going to say, Avila's been wrecked out of 2 races, and he only has 1 finish outside of top 5, which means he's only had really 1 bad race this whole season. If you talk to any of the guys racing in the NASCAR circuit right now and ask them, would you like a season with only 1 bad race? All of them would pay you any amount of money in the world to have that. That is unprecedented. It is fantastic, and it shows why he's going to be your champion.
Lap number 1, 30.75, 155.707. Lap number 2, new quick time, 30.68 seconds, 156.063 miles per hour. Well, no surprise, Johnny Avila is going to sit on the pole tonight for the 6th time this season. 6 out of 10 races. Good Lord. That really is impressive. And let me see here. Actually, yes. I was making sure we had the correct the standings I was looking at here. But yeah, this is going to be one of those nights where it feels like everybody's going to be chasing Johnny Avila. And to me, what that screams is you almost have to start thinking about off strategies and maybe different things that you want to try to do with the race car. Do you try to make the fuel stretch work? Do you maybe just take a 2-stop strategy knowing how heavy tire wear is going to be? Just plan for 2 big, long, hard runs.
That could be a very good strategy, and it could work. Johnny Avila, he doesn't need to take any risks. If he knows he can go 1 stop, he can honestly finish 10th and still win this championship. So all he has to do is get that car to the finish line, and he doesn't even need to do that. So really the race in this race is for 2nd place, or better yet, you're going for the win, but you're not going to have to try against your top guy. So I'm interested to see how Johnny Avila either lets these guys go by him, or if he's just fighting and saying, I'll block you, and if I get wrecked, I'm still the champion.
Yeah, do you want to have the car in one piece for the donuts at the end of the show? That's going to be another big one here that we're going to keep an eye on over the course of the race tonight. Want to remind everybody, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on Twitch, shoot us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, who's your pick tonight. Hopefully you are enjoying the show, and we try to have a conversation with you on the air here. So give us the shout here, but what were you going to say there, Patrick?
I was going to say, if you wreck the car real bad, blow the motor, that's only a half hour to fix in the simulator. So why not go for it, block, be really aggressive at the beginning of the race here, Johnny Avila. If you destroy the car in the beginning, you'll have your car fixed enough to go do donuts once the checkered flag comes out. So there's really no losing scenario here.
Yes. Absolutely grenade the thing if need be, but have a little bit of fun with it. One of the other ones that actually another one that we can call tonight is the team's championship as we pick up Richard Smith in the number 23. The team's championship is also decided. Will Worsler Racing will win the team's championship, having a 13-point lead over Synergy Esports. Pixelated Sim Sports sitting 24 back. They are 11 back of Synergy, so all 3 spots in the team's championship have been decided. The Iron Man of the series this year, entering tonight's racing, Kevin Stone. We just saw him in the number 17. Stone logging 1,454 miles entering tonight's race. Even more than what our champion did. That tells you how bad Johnny Avila's first night was. He was out with 50-plus miles to go. Couple of drivers, depending on where Stone finishes tonight and how many laps he completes, there are a couple of drivers that could catch him on the mileage charts. So far, though, 11 drivers, over 1,000 miles completed this season. One of the things that we talked about Monday night during the Fuel Series broadcast is the longevity of leagues. A lot of the times you can tell based on the number of miles that a driver's going to run. We see that in this league here with, you get 11 drivers over 1,000 miles a season. That means you got a lot of guys showing up, hanging out every week, and quite frankly, we've talked about it all season. I would rather watch 11 or 12 really talented drivers as opposed to a 40-car field that's going to spend 80% of the race under caution.
That also means you have 11, 12 good guys. You have good chemistry between all the guys. They all obviously like each other. If these guys didn't like each other, they wouldn't show up every week. So if you're looking for a good league, come join the Sim Race Club or look for leagues that have guys who have been racing for a long time with that league. And that tells you, hey, there's good atmosphere, these good guys, they all get along. Try to get along with them and, have a good time. Some of the best relationships I've built here on the simulator, or even in person, have been with really long-lasting leagues.
How about this one? Tyler Seville with tonight's, factor in that you're going to score the, 150 at 1.33 miles. It's 150 laps. Let me do the spitball math here on the calculator. That is 199.5 miles. And if he runs the full distance tonight, Tyler Seville will cross 19,000 miles in Sim Racers Club competition. That's really impressive. It tells you the league's been around a long time. And, well, quite frankly, it's a testament to a well-run league as well as we see finally Richard Smith coming into the pits after getting a nice long stint done there. Qualifications are complete, and it will be Johnny Avila that will take the pole for tonight's race. Let's see if we can't get a word in here with Mr. Avila as we get ready to get on the air here. And, well, champ, congratulations. We see you're already out here on the grid. So it tells me you were ready to go setup-wise and everything else. Congratulations, first and foremost, on winning a Sim Racers Club championship.
Thank you. It means a lot. It's been a fun season, so I'm looking forward to just bringing this race home.
Talking about 150 laps, maybe some strategy options are going to come into play. What's the thought process here as you get ready to roll off tonight?
Keep the car straight. The thing wants to get sideways on you on entry, through the center, on exit. So it makes it a lot of fun to drive.
It almost sounds like you're bull riding a little bit. Wants to bite you everywhere it can. Well, good luck tonight. Congratulations on the championship, and hopefully we're talking to you again here before we wrap things up.
Thank you, guys.
There you go. There's the current series, I guess now reigning, soon-to-be reigning series champion, Johnny Avila. Your 2021-22, we'll say, Sim Racers Club champion, and there it is. Nice-looking graphics up there on the Ford Mustang. Johnny taking home a Sim Speed Shop button box. If you're one of those guys who has to run for prizes and stuff, girls, whatever, that has to run for prizes, how about that one, where you're going to get to take home a pretty decent piece of hardware here?
Yeah, Button Box is a fantastic addition. I have not invested in one because I race primarily in VR, but I'm going to be swapping the triple screen soon, and a Button Box probably next on the list of things to buy. Just the things you could do with it, you can program buttons on it. For me, as someone who hosts bunch sessions, you can punch in a clear all, so you just punch that, clears everyone's penalties. Great for when you want to run a bunch of cars going the wrong way on a racetrack. Or you could set it, if you're an actual racer, only take 2 tires, only take 4 tires, only fuel, or you could take a full pit stop. Say thank you to a driver that lets you buy if they're a lap car. Hey, there's so much possibility you could do with it, and it adds buttons instead of having to scroll through your mouse or try and click buttons on your wheel and scroll through menus to try and find stuff. It's immensely helpful.
Well, let's bring up the new graphics that we have to run here for you, and changing things up a little bit. Let us know what you think of the new ticker that we have at the top of the screen. We may do some of that for our more NASCAR style broadcast, a little bit more familiar than the, I guess we'll say, European style graphics. But Fields off at turn number 4, getting ready one last time. Green flag going to go in the air for the Sim Racers Club. And once again, race fans, this one's going to be all yours. One lap very quickly in the books, and no surprise, Johnny Avila heads to the top of the speed charts and the top of the field. Mike Mcconville, Tyler Seville going to be your top 3. Decent little battle shaping up there for second and third. And, well, quite frankly, Patrick, no real surprise that things are kind of settling in single file. 150 laps is a long way to go. No sense trying stuff early.
Yeah, everyone just kind of wants to figure out what the track feels like, especially in the pack. In practice, you only get a pack of 3-4 cars if you're lucky. So everyone wants to get a feel for the car, what it does in traffic, and figure out how they can use that to their advantage later in the race.
Closest battle on the racetrack right now is going to be Troy Haight and Kevin Stone. We didn't even get to give you the starting lineup for this one, but you got to see it up there on the screen, and quite frankly, very little has changed. A.J. Digby up 2, now running in the 4th position. Richard Fletcher falling back a couple of spots. He's now running in 11th. I would imagine if you're accustomed to running in these types of smaller leagues, you find ways to occupy the brain, but man, I would be like spacing out 10 or 15 laps into this. Keeping concentration when you're just logging laps is not an easy thing to do.
See, as someone who regularly runs, or used to regularly run in the Silver Crown Series, when you're driving a car like this, like these guys are right now at this track, where it's very, very difficult to drive, you don't need a whole lot of cars to have a fantastic race, even if you're by yourself for most of it. Just because you see your relative, you see how far you are to the car in front, how far you are to the back. You're always chasing that car in front and trying to chase the car and keep it from killing you. So there's definitely ways to keep yourself entertained.
Mike Mcconville checking in on YouTube. I'm my pick, fingers crossed. Last time we did that, Mike, you wrecked, and, well, you're not doing it this time, so congratulations on that one. 90210 to saying, just send it. And Timothy Austin, 19,000? Yes, 19,000 miles of Sim Racers Club competition coming up here tonight for this man, Tyler Seville, if he can keep that number 11 car on the straight and narrow for all 150 laps. And quite frankly, this is a league that has adapted over time. They've run everything from, well, they had a truck league that will be coming back. They've run the old style Gen 6 Cup cars. They've run the Xfinity Series cars. Now they're running the next gen cars. That's really something that you can kind of grab a hold of, but to me is really impressive. that a guy like Tyler Seville can run that many laps, that many miles, and be insanely competitive. 128 starts, 11 poles, 8 wins, 86 top 10 finishes. So 2/3 of the time he's in the top 10, almost half the time he's in the top 5. That's really a credit to a driver who's able to adapt and change from car to car to car.
I mean, 19,000 miles. You have to have gone from the Gen 5 to the Gen 6 to the later Gen 6 to now the Gen 7.
Yeah, toss in the Xfinity cars with it. And oh, by the way, incidents per lap, 0.03. Averaging just over 3 incident points per race. That's dipping a wheel off 3 times a race. It will get you to 3 incidents.
I forgot they ran the Xfinity cars. That makes it even more impressive because the Xfinity car changes, it seems like, every 2 months. So to be able to stay that consistent over however many years of the car getting changed every month or 2 months is absolutely fantastic.
Wondering if we're seeing a little bit of an early strategy call here by Mike Mcconville or a little bit of tire fall off, but Tyler Seville inside into turn number 3. He'll get the pass completed for the second position. The draft in these cars obviously is pretty big, and it will come into play at least a little bit here. But you're in that point in the race where you have to start thinking, if I want a fuel save and I know I can't keep up with Johnny Avila, maybe this is early enough in the run that you can start to make those fuel saving moves.
Yeah, if you know a race is going to go mostly green flag, especially when you have a small field, you have to start your fuel save run from the beginning. You have to have your strategy, your base strategy planned out, and you start it at the last lap of the race and you work your way back to figure out exactly how much you have to save on that first stint, second stint, third stint, so on. So it's never too early to start saving fuel.
A little bit further back in the pack here, let's pick up Mike Whiting, who is, well, quite frankly, all over the rear end of Kevin Stone, and a side-by-side battle shaping up here in the corner as well. This is Tony Patton and Tim Knott. Oh, man, save that wiggle off of turn number 4. Nashville's a little bit unique in that it is the, I guess you could say, quintessential D-shaped oval. However, it is not a gentle curve on the front straightaway. It's almost like it's turn half and turn 4.5.
Not only that, Nashville is not your traditional D-shaped 1.5 miles. It is only 1 1/3 miles. So all the turns are tighter than all these drivers are used to and what they're expecting. So it really makes it a very tricky and fun track to get around. I don't have a lot of experience here, actually. If you're familiar with the NRN and the leagues we cover, with the TNT series, the only race I've ever done here was a Formula V race that was covered by TNT, where it was the day of the track release when we didn't have lights and the race was scheduled at night. That was miserable.
Yes. Well, yeah, the lights were there. They just weren't turned on yet. Trying to get a close look.
Turned on yet.
I think Truly Hate may have gotten a piece of the outside safer barrier off of turn number 4 a lap and a half ago. Trying to see if there's any little scrape marks on the side of that car. If he got it, it wasn't by much. As now Hate can have a look inside of Kevin Stone down towards turn number 1. This is the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th.
I mean, you never know the state he's driving in. He could have made a stop at Tootsie's before he came down to the racetrack. And that might just, explain a little contact with the wall.
If you were driving from Tootsie's to Nashville Super Speedway, I'm pretty sure the Tennessee Highway Patrol would have you well taken care of. They call it Nashville Super Speedway, but it's located in Lebanon, Tennessee, about 45 miles south of the city. As we see 90210 checking in saying turn 5. Yeah, it's sort of, it actually, the way this place drives reminds me a lot of the old Nazareth Speedway that was multiple. Nazareth probably had 5 turns. They just didn't call it 5. So 19 laps into this one here, and let's take a look here at the front of the field. How about things closing up a little bit? Tyler Seville has a hot rod after dispatching Mike Mcconville. He's within a quarter of a second of race leader Johnny Avila. Seville would like to close the season out on a high note. For as good of a year as Johnny Avila's had, Tyler Seville's been pretty darn close. 8 starts, 2 poles, 1 win, 6 top 5 finishes, 8 top 10 finishes. He's been right there all season, and it's tough to compete with a guy like Johnny Avila who's going to go out and be world-beating, but nothing to shake your head about if you're Tyler Seville either.
Yeah, I mean, he missed the championship this year, but he's been in the picture just about every single race as fighting for this win. So you can't count the guy out. He could be your winner tonight. And next season, I definitely will have him on my fantasy list.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned next season because the Sim Racers Club will be returning to action on April 20th. Will be a pair of 14 race seasons to close out 2022, and you'll get to see both of them right here on the National Racing Network. Really proud that Sam, Jordan, and Jordan, the admins of the league, wanted to have us back. We thank them very much for their support, and looking forward to, quite frankly, what's going to be a very fun season of racing coming up here. We'll get full schedule details and all that kind of stuff out to you here as, well, quite frankly, as soon as we have it. We'll get it out to you guys. But that'll be fun to have these guys back on Wednesday nights. Thursday nights, the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar Series returns next week. That's another one we are really looking forward to, getting the IndyCars back on the NRN airwaves. Indy Pro 2000 Championship coming up tomorrow night. Also, the High Side Hustle with Burt Wojcik and Adam Rubright. You do not want to miss tomorrow night's show. The guys did an interview with Hannah Newhouse as part of their Women's History Month celebrations. Normally, the interviews are 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're pushing it. 45 minutes of fantastic conversation with Hannah Newhouse.
As we see a huge
insane
slide from Johnny Avila.
Yeah, big save there.
Big wiggle.
Hey, our friend Nikki Worsler is checking in here. Hello, Miss Nikki. Thank you very much for hanging out with us again here. Giving some love for the Will Worsler Racing crew.
Tyler Seville now trying to make the run and lead. He gets it, but man, that was a huge save out of turn 2 as well. These guys are really fighting these race cars.
Start to makes you wonder if, well,
tires would be a good idea.
I was going to say, are tires going to be a very, very good idea at this point?
As you even see, it was very subtle, but Johnny Avila having to chase that car up in the mid-corner. Both these guys having handling issues, and if your top 2 are having handling issues, I can't imagine what the rest of the field is currently experiencing, just having to chase these race cars around.
Yeah, it sounds like things are going to get interesting early here, because if you're talking lap 27, already seeing some sliding around, we may see pit stops earlier than we think. The fuel window, as we mentioned, is 72 to maybe 75 laps. If you're already dealing with an ill-handling race car, do you really want to try to put another 50 on this thing?
If my name was Johnny Avila, I got nothing to lose. Let's try it. If my name was Tyler Seville, it might not be a bad idea to pit as the leader and force everyone else to make that move and come down pit road.
Well, that becomes an interesting strategy call because depending on the number of sets of tires that they have in the box, I believe it's 3 that they had in the box. You can't necessarily make that move too early, but if the car is going to be pushing and snap loose like we just saw there out of Kevin Stone, it almost forces you to make that early run down pit lane.
See, now that you mention that, I would much rather have that snap loose and kind of have them drive the car slow early in the race. This way I could push at the end, because where you finish on lap 31 doesn't matter. Where you finish on lap 150, that's what matters. So I'm kind of rethinking myself and going towards the just drive the car, work with it, and deal with it for now.
This battle here, Troy Haight, Mike White, and Kevin Stone, all separated by, we'll say, a half and a third of a second, respectively. Looking back here, A.J. Digby doing some catching up on Johnny Avila. You wonder if maybe that's kind of what Johnny's thinking here, as save the car and make sure you have it till the end, because he's already 0.8 of a second back of Tyler Seville, and A.J. Digby closing in. He's within third of a second at this point now as they head down the back straightaway.
Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Johnny Avila do this. He'll qualify good, he'll lead a couple laps in the beginning of the race, show everyone he's got a fast race car, and he'll kind of set himself back, just baby the car around, maybe even go a lap down. We'll kind of forget about him a little bit. And then come towards the end of the race, he's got himself a good finish and either won the race or finished in the top 2 or 3. So he might fall back. We might forget about him for a little bit, but he'll be back.
Let's give you the rundown through the field here, and we'll give you the nice close-up shots on everybody here as they work their way through. Tyler Seville is your race leader, up 2 after starting in the 3rd position tonight. Arch Telecom and PNC Bank on the side of that number 11 Ford Mustang. Already starting to catch up in on the back of the field, and cars that will eventually become lap traffic. Johnny Avila led the first part of this race in the Bulldog Roofworks number 63. Quickest in practice, quickest in qualifying, going for the trifecta here tonight and being quickest when it counts in the race. But he's going to have to contend with the Custom Sim Paints number 14 Chevrolet Camaro rocket ship, custom paints and diecast, excuse me, of Johnny Avila, or yeah, my goodness, A.J. Digby inside, making the pass off of turn number 4. Good Lord, you think we haven't talked about these guys all season? So
it's only been a couple weeks. It's only a couple names. You can get this down eventually.
Eventually, I will get good at my job. So A.J. Digby up to the 2nd position, another of the Will Worsler Racing cars.
And this is exactly what I was talking about. Johnny Avila, he let him have it. He's just going to settle in, save that car for the end of the race, and come and get himself back in the podium or get himself in victory lane for the end of this thing. So do not count him out. Do not say he's got a slow car right now. There's no chance he can win it, because he's playing chess right now.
Following along with Mike Mcconville in the Shattered Dreams Racing at number 57 as we turn lap number 36. Mike new to the season about, I guess about 2/3 of the way through. The Cape May, New Jersey native, no stranger to the fans here on the National Racing Network. Take a look here. A couple of comments coming in. Will Worsler saying, good pass, Seville. Yeah, that was Purdy into turn 3. Sim Racing Realtor. We are getting word that Johnny might be turning off the car in the middle of the corners.
Now, I said he was playing chess, but turning the car off in the middle of the corners, that's playing three-dimensional chess right there.
Yeah,
Wow.
we are going to have to go on board here and listen to that one. Because either you're going to make us look dumb, or this is going to be... He is!
Yeah, he's pushing the clutch in. He's sitting at 2,000 RPM. He's not shutting it off, but he is coasting.
Well, that's one way to do some fuel saving, I guess. There you go.
Wow, he is dumping the clutch in real early.
Get off the throttle, dump the clutch. It saves the brakes a little bit. Not going to heat the tires up too much.
That is taking Formula One's lift and coast and throwing it on some steroids. That is fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I watched Brad Keselowski do that at Dover. It was the first NASCAR race I had ever taken my wife to. And literally, we're watching them go by, and she goes, that one sounds different. And I'm listening, I'm going, son of a bitch, he's shutting the car off. And absolutely, at the start-finish line, Keselowski was shutting the car off, doing a monster fuel-saving run. 90210 is checking in here. He is as mind-blown as we are. Turning off the car in the corners, big brain. Let's rephrase that. Monster brain out of Johnny Avila.
Oh, yeah. He's taking one out of the playbook of Brad Keselowski. People have always said those Penske cars, they've got another 3 or 4 gallons of fuel in them. No, it's just Brad Keselowski playing with that fuel game and really saving as much as he possibly can.
I'll tell you what, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it's going to play off for him because, quite frankly, you can lose too much. I mean, right now he's only 1.4 seconds behind Tyler Seville. But is it possible to lose too much time fuel saving and eventually you kind of burn yourself in the end?
It is, and when I used to crew chief, I could tell you exactly when those numbers were. I have formulas saved through it somewhere. However, since you're locked in as the champion, save as much as you can right now, and hope for some late race cautions. And again, since you're the champion, you got nothing to lose, you can create some late race cautions too if you really need to. And make the strategy work out for yourself and go and get yourself that second trophy, that winner's trophy at the end of this race to put right alongside your champion's trophy.
Man, battle for the lead is heating up here too. We will continue our through the field here in just a moment because Tyler Seville slides up out of the way. New race leader off of turn 2 and it's AJ Digby. And this is where you start to wonder, are these guys playing the different strategies? If I'm Digby and Seville, if you're going to split this up into 3 segments, you're probably talking about coming in anywhere after lap 50. And even, quite frankly, the window's probably open now if you can make it 70 plus, 70 laps on a tank of fuel. If you're going to try to play the tire game in the undercut, man, it just makes me think that this is kind of when you would want to push.
I was going to say, I wonder if AJ Digby is playing the strategy of take it easy early in the run. Once everyone's burnt their stuff up, go out, pass them, and then you control the pit cycle at that point. Because when you're the leader and you pit, iRacing will send every driver a notification through their audio or however they receive it that says, hey, leader's pitting now. And that usually throws off everyone's strategy. Everyone always goes, leader's pitting now. He's got the undercut on all of us. We have to pit now. Even if you don't, even if your strategy's way different, it puts that in your head. So even doing this, even if you didn't want to pit this early, you can play mind games with everyone else and force them to pit when they don't want to pit.
And now as leaders are catching lap traffic, you're really talking about that big brain move of shutting the car off or at least clutch and coast in the corners. That really comes into play here because Johnny Avila was a second and a half back a couple of laps ago. Now he's back to within a half second of the race leader.
Especially the way he's clutching and ghosting. He's entering the beginning of the corner and hitting the mid-corner so softly. He's not wearing the tires like the other guys are. When you clutch and coast or you lift and coast, you're not only saving the fuel in the car, you're saving the tires, and both are just as valuable, if not tires being more valuable. So, this early in the race, there's nothing to lose by doing that.
90210 checking in. What if you wanted to go to heaven, but God said the leader is on pit road?
And damn it, son, you're going to hell.
I think we all are. Race leaders making efficient work of the back of the field here. Tim Knott, Richard Smith, Richard Fletcher all going a lap down early in this one. And Tony Patton. Tony Patton is playing the long game. Currently 22 seconds back. In fact, 28 seconds back of the race leader. He's trying to make it work. Running the high lane, doing all the stuff you can do to save tires and save fuel. But, man, the leaders are getting close back there. And Patton in the 8th position, going to be the next car to go a lap down.
Well, if he's been saving this whole time, now's the time, right before he goes lap down, when you say, foot goes to the floor, we're going to hold it pinned and really push everything this thing's got. Don't go that lap down, or do and hold yourself one lap down. Just hold yourself first car and lap down, and you get a free pit stop.
Well, I was going to say, if you look at it, Troy Haight in 7th is only 6 seconds back of the race leader. He's not going a lap down anytime soon. So if you're Tony Patton, you're in the position of lucky dog-ish, and maybe try to run the fuel strategy game, play the really long game, and absolutely make it not only on one stop, but a very short one stop.
Yeah. And even still, if you go that lap down, caution comes out, that's a free pit stop, because no matter what, you're going to be the last car on the longest line. So no matter if you pit or not. So you pit, take that fresh set of tires. It doesn't help you, it doesn't hurt you, but it helps you as soon as you go green flag, and you have the advantage ahead of everyone else. Johnny Avila now, I don't think he's lifting and coasting anymore, because he just passed Tyler Seville like he was standing still.
Yeah, let's go back on the onboard here. Yeah, you can hear him. He is on the throttle significantly earlier through the corners. That tells me a lot of these guys, whether they're running Crew Chief, JRT, the SDK software, there's a lot of different options out there for fuel calculations. Johnny Avila has obviously hit the number, whatever the number was that he wanted to hit.
Man, I must be an old school sim racer or something. Before I went to VR, and the reason I'm getting away from VR is I used to sit with my TI-84 graphing calculator on my lap during the race, and I'd have graphs and stuff programmed in. I could look at the X-axis, Y-axis, and find my number that way. All these guys now, with all the software that's available, it'll tell you that number right in your ear.
Picking up Mike Mcconville here as he has Mike Whiting just ahead, Kevin Stone just behind. That is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th on the racetrack. Let's take a look here. We'll show you the last lap times for these drivers. $32.1 for AJ Digby, your race leader. 32 flat for Johnny Avila. 32.2 for Tyler Seville. Oh, man, big save there for Mcconville. He is going to lose the 5th position to Kevin Stone. So the pit window is open if you're going to make it a two-stop race. I can't believe that our commenters are mocking us here in the comments here. 90210 owned. Big wiggle. At least she got the inflection right on it. So again, nobody's been down pit lane. And I would have... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that must mean we must know 91210 somehow. Just got to figure out who it is.
Well, it's one of our longest term watchers and a regular viewer for that matter, so.
The hunt is on. I'm going to find out who you are, buddy. Hell yeah.
So I would think by this point, there's not a lot of incentive to, if you can make it 75, there's not a lot of incentive to stop at 60 or 65. Unless you're going to try to make that second stop very, very short.
Which might be... Excuse me. You might want to make the second stop very short if you're planning for overtime. Which, at a track like this, you get a late race caution. It's a very racy track. So you're going to get a lot of cars side by side if they're all racing for that win. And we will get overtime if there's late enough caution. So making that second stop really short might be the goal.
90210 saying good luck. So once again, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in here on YouTube and on Twitch. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Yeah, that's a great point. Fresh tires for the end. If you can make that shorter, you make the shorter stop work, stopping at, say, 60 or 65 instead of 75. Yes, you have to make a second stop, but you are going to have really fresh sneakers when it comes time for that last run to the finish.
Yeah, and good tires can mean the difference between winning and losing at one of these mile and a halves, or mile and a third in this case, where everyone else might be a better driver than you, but even if you're mediocre, you can go out there with fresh tires and absolutely blow the doors off of everybody. You can enter the corner harder, you can hit the mid-corner harder, and you can exit harder. And I don't care how good of a driver you are, if that guy's got an extra set of tires and fresh rubber and an extra couple tenths of a second in that car, they're going to pass you.
First car on pit lane, and it is the number 28 of Troy Haight. Making the stop at lap number 61, I believe. He will be down and away 15.85 seconds for 2 cans of Sunoco fuel and 4 fresh Goodyear Racing Eagles. And now if you're one of these guys at the front of the field, does that sort of change your calculations a little bit? Troy was not a lap down yet when he came down pit road.
No, I don't think it would. With how spread out this field is, F1 has to be on their own strategy and stick to it. It's a little late in the game to be changing your stuff up. Once that first guy makes pit stop, he's revealed his move. And if you react to his move, it'll throw your whole game off. And he's already got you beat on that strategy. So you got to stick to your own and hope your own strategy is better than his.
Well, with big gaps, and I do mean huge gaps throughout the field. In fact, we'll show you the gaps up here on the ticker. Let's go back to running through the field here. AJ Digby, your race leader, is the hard charger of the night, up 5 spots from where he started tonight. And quite frankly, having a pretty darn good race here. passing Johnny Avila pretty easily, also passing Tyler Seville pretty easily. And we'll pick up our new champion, Johnny Avila, running in the second position, qualified on the pole after being fastest in practice. Just back behind him is Tyler Seville. Again, Tyler, another one. We've talked about him a good bit here tonight. Very quick, quite frankly, impressive all season long, and the car's got a lot of pace in it tonight as well. Running in the fourth position is Mike Whiting. Not a guy that we've talked a ton about tonight. He has had some good runs so far this season. Looking to build some momentum as we head into next season. Brookside Equipment on the side of that number 44 Ford Mustang. Running in the fifth position tonight, exactly where he started, is Kevin Stone. Stone very quietly inside the top five. Couple of nice little battles with Mike Mcconville and Mike Whiting, for that matter. Talked about the number 57 of Mike Mcconville a little bit here. The Shattered Dreams Racing Mighty Ducks Star Wars kind of theme paint job. Pretty cool little paint scheme there on the 57. Running in the seventh position is Tony Patton. First car, one lap down. But again, he's that kind of master of strategy here. If he played the super long game and got the number right, don't be surprised to see that number 86 up near the head of the field once we finish things up here tonight. Just behind him is the 23 of Richard Smith. Smith up 3 spots from the start of the race tonight. Fantastic question, by the way, coming in here. We'll get you the info in just a second. I want to make sure we get the run through the field here, get a nice look at everybody. And that includes the 41 of Tim Knott. A little bit of damage on the right front of that car after a scrape with the outside safer barrier off of turn number 4. When he makes his pit stop, likely to be at least a little bit of optional repair time on the side of front right corner of that number 41 Gunskins machine. Running in the 10th position is Richard Fletcher. Again, this is another one that is a battle for position. And then we have Troy Haight. First car that made a stop down pit lane, and the question from 90210, what's Haight's lap time versus the leader? Well, ask and ye shall receive. 31.8 seconds, the last lap time for Troy Haight. 32.2 the lap time for AJ Digby, as we've got a couple of cars on pit road, and it is Tony Patton and Richard Smith. Smith with a little bit of damage on the right side of that number 23 as well. This is kind of where we thought everybody was going to be, but I thought it might have been Tony Patton that was going to make it to lap 75. Patton hits the box cleanly. Crew will go around, get the right side of the car up in the air. Once again, 4 fresh Goodyear Racing Eagles, 2 cans Sunoco fuel going in that machine. Both cars should be down and away here in just a second. 16 flat for Tony Patton, 17.82 seconds the time of the stop for Richard Smith. Now we're getting into crunch time and seeing if you made the numbers work. And Mike Whiting down off of turn number 4. He will make his way down pit lane at lap 73. I'll tell you what, Patrick, you didn't hit the number.
No, that means this is going to be a 2-stop race. Unless we get a caution sometime between now and the checkered flag, they're going to have to stop again.
Yeah, this one, this is going to get interesting. So Mike Whiting down and away, 15:58 the time of the stop for the number 44 crew. And again, we go back to looking at race leader A.J. Digby. You have to you can't stop at 75. You have to basically stop at 76 if you're going to make that one-stop strategy work. They're currently running lap 75. You need to complete 75 laps, if that makes sense. So we'll see when your leaders are going to be down pit lane, and it will not be this time for A.J. Digby. Top 5 have not made their pit stops yet. Troy Haight, by the way, last lap time, 32.02. Mike Mcconville making his way down this time. And it's a great point in the comments. If we get a caution, you're coming in for tires one way or the other. Kevin Stone, Tyler Seville, both on pit lane as well this time. So about what we expected to see here is we'll pick up Stone and Seville as they make their way in. And likely to see A.J. Digby and Johnny Avila in here in the next lap or so. Oh, man, a little bit of an overshoot for Tyler Seville. That's going to cost him probably half, if not a full second here on pit lane. 17 of Kevin Stone already down and away. Seville finally out of the pit box. 17.85 seconds the time of the stop. He's going to lose a couple of spots here. Troy Haight, Mike Whiting already coming past. And here comes race leader A.J. Digby down pit lane. Johnny Avila staying out on the racetrack. One more circuit.
And Johnny Avila, just like I said, he fell out of our radar for a little bit, and here he is back in the lead of the race.
Yeah, the question becomes, did you lose time, and where did you lose it? Total time on pit lane for most of these drivers is pretty consistent in the mid-47s to mid-48 second range. Down and away is A.J. Digby at a 15:43. Good stop there for that crew. Fastest of the lot, but now we're down to one car on the lead lap, and he's gone 80 laps in the process. Johnny Avila, and he's shutting the car off again. Bringing that car down onto pit lane. So race leader and final car on pit lane for the cycle of green flag pit stops. Johnny Avila finally getting down into pit box number 1 at the far end of pit lane. A.J. Digby working his way through turns 3 and 4 now. And he will easily come past here as Johnny Avila just gets back underway. But there goes A.J. Digby screaming by in turn number 1. He is going to have a solid lead over Johnny Avila. Avila still coming out on the warm-up lane on the inside of the racetrack. How about 4 and change seconds the lead for A.J. Digby? Some of that, I think, was playing the strategy game. The rest of it was your in-laps and your out-laps. Time on pit lane for A.J. Digby, 44.9 seconds. Johnny Avila, 46.22. So a good in-lap, a good out-lap for A.J. Digby. you're talking a 5-second gap here that Johnny Avila is going to have to make up in the second half of this race.
Yeah, and this really puts Johnny Avila in a tough spot because to make it that 75 laps, 78 laps, whatever he did again, he's really got to save the car. He can't push to try and close that gap. He just has to hope AJ Digby makes a mistake if he doesn't want to pit again.
Yeah, and we did see some pretty heavy fuel saving out of Johnny Avila, obviously, with the clutch and coast in the corners. Maybe by getting it to lap 80, he doesn't have to do again or do as much of.
I was just about to say that. He might be able to push a little bit more than he was just because of how much he was saving earlier.
So let's run through the field here. This is the tightest battle on the racetrack. It's Mike Whiting, Kevin Stone, and Troy Haight, and they are separated by about a half-second apiece. AJ Digby is your race leader, followed by Johnny Avila. And the gap is closing and down about a half-second already. Mike Whiting runs in the third position. Fantastic run there for Mike Whiting. Kevin Stone fourth, Troy Haight fifth, Tyler Seville all the way back to the sixth position. The difference in pit lane time between Tyler Seville and AJ Digby, 5 full seconds. Which really goes to show you, especially in these smaller field type races, you can't make a mistake.
No, in another race, you lose 10 spots, and you're only down half the field. You can still make that up easily. In a race like this, you go down 10 spots, you're probably in last place. So, especially with the close skill level of all these drivers, from AJ Digby, Johnny Avila, to those guys in the back of the pack, they're all just about the same skill level. Any of these guys can win any of these races, so you have to be flawless the entire time.
Now, here's the big question that we're getting from 90210, and quite frankly, I think this could maybe be as good of a big brain strategy play. It seems the tires start to really fall off after 15 to 20 laps. If you're Johnny Avila and you think everybody may want to stop again for tires, do you put yourself in that position? Oh, what a save, Kevin Stone! Wow.
Oh, man.
Good Lord, that's high, wide, and handsome. See if we can't get a look at that one here on the replay. Woo! That car was sideways coming off at turn number 4. Man alive. So we'll go back to the live look here, and Kevin Stone, Troy Haight going to continue to battle. And the difference here is about 16 laps on the tires, but Troy Haight is the car that's on older tires than Kevin Stone. So you would think we would see Stone able to pull away here, and quite frankly, it's just not happening. Feels like, quite frankly, like it's not a fall off. It's more like we and Patrick, you mentioned this out of the F1 world. The tires cliff. They're junk very early until you get them up to temperature and you get the air pressures all done right. Then they're good, and then they just fall off the cliff. It sort of seems like that's what we might be dealing with a little bit here.
Yeah, and next time I'm in Akron, I'm going to stop at the Goodyear factory, talk to those guys to actually why that happens. But in the making of racing tires, there are multiple compounds they'll use throughout the tire's life as it goes 40 or so laps on the track. For the first bit of it will be very hard, very small. Get up and catch. Oh, as we have a car sliding down towards the infield.
What a save, Troy Haight. Good Lord. That's another one. Let's take a look here at Troy Haight off the corner. Oh,
Woo!
my goodness.
Tokyo Drift right there up in Nashville. Wow.
And again, we're talking about seeing it. This fall off is happening on tires that are 22 laps old, 32 laps old. In the case of Troy Haight, he stopped at lap number 60. But knowing that he's going to have to stop again, man, something tells me Troy Haight could be he could be fairly successful here because he knows he's got to stop again. So just get the car right back in line again and keep driving it as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah, the benefit of pitting more times than everyone else is you can just absolutely push the car the entire time. As we see Mike Mcconville driving through every single pit stall that there is available on pit road.
Yes, trying to take a look here. Looks like he may have gotten the outside wall pretty hard. You can see right around the right rear. That car is scuffed up pretty bad. Hood's caved up on the right front. He about pancaked that thing.
Now, I know last week he had a bunch of issues with hitting the wall a couple times. I wonder if this week as well he just brought the same car over.
Well, looks like Mike Mcconville may be out of the race here because the jack went up on the right-hand side and he was getting on up out of here. So looks like trouble for Mike Mcconville may be out of the race here. As we'll take a look at Troy Haight and Mike Whiting battling for position. (90210) chiming in saying to the Shadow Realm. Well, how about it here, boys and girls? We've got a battle for the race lead. It's AJ Digby and Johnny Avila going to battle into turn number 1. Avila was right up under the deck lid on corner entry. Backs it off just a little bit at the mid-corner. Tucks back in down the back straightaway. And this is really where you can use the draft a little bit to save that tiny bit of fuel that you might want to have in reserve.
The problem with using the draft to save your fuel is there's the trade-off of you're using the draft to burn up more tires. And from what I've seen tonight, tires are infinitely more valuable than fuel. So I don't know if I'd want to tuck up that close behind AJ Digby. I almost want to set myself up on the high line if he's running the low line and just try and save the stuff. But AJ Digby knows what he's doing. He is not listening to me at all, and he is going for the pass right now.
Well, I tell you what, he was about half a car width outside on the entry to turn number 1, getting just a little bit of downforce and clean-ish air on the right side of that car. Tiny little slip up from AJ Digby, and that was all that Avila needed to claim the race lead once again, as we are getting very close to 50 to go.
You can see when they entered turn 1, you'll probably see it again in turn 3. AJ Digby is going to cut off the run, or cut off the air from AJ Digby. Excuse me, I said AJ Digby twice. Johnny Avila is doing that to AJ Digby. That is going to make AJ Digby really, really burn up his tires. He's going to have to set himself way back from Johnny Avila to try and save his stuff and give it a good push at the end of this race.
Yeah, you can see that Avila's not running right against the yellow line in the middle of the corner. By keeping his car up a little bit, he can force AJ Digby to run just a little bit higher.
Yeah, and if AJ Digby wants to catch him, he's got to run lower than Johnny Avila, which is just going to burn up his tires even more and hurt him towards the end of this race. Like I said, Johnny Avila has been playing chess this entire race. He's been playing chess this entire season, and I would call him the chess grandmaster of this series from what I have seen this season so far.
It sort of begs the question a little bit here of when do you think discretion is the better part of valors? Oh, man, big slide there for Digby. Got a great run off of turn number 4, though. He'll make the dive into turn number 1. I say when is discretion the better part of valor, and it's not worth the fight. Well, A.J. Digby's taking it to Johnny Avila here, still side by side off of turn 2.
See, for both these drivers, I say it's always worth the fight. For A.J. Digby, you want the win. You want to go home with that golden trophy. For Johnny Avila, you already know you're the champion. You're just playing games at A.J. Digby at this point. If he wants to back off and save his stuff, you back off and save your stuff too. If he wants to go and fight, you go and fight. You've got nothing to lose. You're just trying to kind of screw with him a little bit. You're having fun with it and really just trying to counter everything he throws at you.
Seeing the comment coming in here from Mike Mcconville. Sorry for leaving early. Haven't been feeling well today. Wanted to give the race a go to show my support. Well, Mike, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And I know the league admins do as well here. So now inside of 50 to go, we think everybody but Troy Haight and likely Mike Whiting should be good to go to the finish here. What are you thinking then if you're Johnny Avila? Obviously, we've talked about a little bit the playing with house money aspect of this. If you're A.J. Digby, Tyler Seville, Kevin Stone, what's the thought process here as we get deeper in this race?
The thought process is try and pass him. Just try and get yourself in the lead. You're going to throw the kitchen sink at trying to get the lead of this race.
That's insightful analysis.
You're going to throw the kitchen sink right at trying to keep the lead. This is a dogfight as we've ever seen one. These guys are playing the strategy game that we can't really see, and they're playing the race car kind of bash into each other's scheme as we can see on our screens. So it's really a game of checkers now instead of chess.
Let's see here. Let's go on board with Johnny Avila. No clutch and coast there into turn number 3 is pick up Sim Racing Realtor in the comments here saying, thank you to Mike. The new season has some cool things planned. Tell a friend as we hope to fill the field. I'll tell you what, we've gotten a little bit of a taste of some of that in some of the graphics and things like that the league has been sharing on social media. There's going to be some fun stuff coming here out of the Sim Racers Club for these next 2 seasons. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we'll have both of those here on the National Racing Network coming up in the not too distant future. April 20th is when the show is going to be kicking back off here for these guys. And just announced for the High Side Hustle tomorrow night, winner of the Short Track Super Series Big Block Modified Race at the Port Royal Speedway, Ryan Godown will be joining Burt Wojcik and Adam Rubright, along with Hannah Newhouse. So that should be a couple of fun conversations here coming up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right here on the National Racing Network. Followed up by the Indy Pro 2000 Championship at 10:15. So we're down to 40 laps to go. A.J. Digby still within a third of a second, and as you can see at the ticker at the top of your screen, Nobody else is close. And when I say close, I mean close to each other and close to the leaders at this point. As the 28 of Troy Haight, just coming off of pit road, he's made his second stop at lap number 105. And how about it? Not many cars have passed A.J. Digby like they were standing still. Troy Haight going to go after the race leaders. The problem is he may need some caution flag help here. If he can get around Johnny Avila and then get a fairly quick yellow, could put him in a very good spot here late in the race. It's almost one of those situations here, Patrick, where he needs the caution to fly, but he needs it to come quick because he still has a lot of life left on the tires. If he hits the cliff, the strategy game is kind of a moot point there.
The problem with how close he is to the cliff is if the caution were to come out, everyone else pits and you stay out, is you're now right on the edge of that cliff and everyone else still has distance to go. So you'll be able to pull that gap, but everyone else is just going to throw that line out and reel you back in. So I don't know if he wants a caution to come out this early. I would almost say try and save your stuff and hope a caution comes out later if you can hopefully hold off Johnny Avila.
Which, as we've seen this season, is, quite frankly, more than a tough ask at this point. Johnny's been, well, quite frankly, dominant. If you weren't here with us for the early part of the broadcast, Johnny Avila, 8 starts, 5 poles, 6 wins, 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 40 bonus points, outpacing just about everybody in the field. However, Tyler Seville, Kevin Stone, A.J. Digby also with top 10s in every race this season. And we're starting to get to the point where if Troy Haight was going to benefit from a caution, well, he's going to need it really shortly here as he is approaching the cliff on the tires. And at this point, Tony Patton is actually ahead of him on the racetrack. Not by a ton, but Troy Haight and Tony Patton, let's pick these two up here. The gap's about 3 seconds here separating Tony Patton from Troy Haight. Patton would be the lucky dog and not Troy Haight. Tim Knott making his way down pit lane out of the 10th position. The Gunskins Toyota Camry a little bit banged up there on the right-hand side. But now he will make his second pit stop and again have fresh rubber to get to the end. Problem for Tim is at this point he is 7 laps down and going to fall even more in arrears to this guy. Race leader Johnny Avila now putting about a half second between himself and A.J. Digby, as we also see Richard Smith and Tony Patton making their way onto pit lane. And some of these cars did stop after lap 75. So kind of interesting to see that they're going to come in here. And we've had drivers tell us this in some of our other broadcasts. You hate to leave a set of sneakers on pit lane at the end of the race. Does that ever come into your thought process when you're planning out strategy of, hey, I want to do this to use up every bit of fresh rubber I have?
It depends on the track. It depends on how important tires are. if we were at a track like Daytona or Talladega, I would say, hell, Goodyear gave us 8 sets, let's only use 4. However, at a track like this where they're absolutely chewing off chunks of that rubber, I want every last bit of it I can get on that car. I would definitely plan my strategy around getting all those tires, trying taking the undercut in everyone, and wow, AJ Digby with a huge save off of turn 4. But, you know, that just shows why you need those tires. He's obviously burnt that set off a little bit, and he should come down and grab some more.
Yeah, we still have 29 laps to go here at the Nashville Super Speedway in the season finale for the Sim Racers Club. Johnny Avila will be your new series champion as we head into next season, kicking off on April 20th. Tyler Seville has locked up second in the points standings. Then we got a good battle here for third, fourth, and fifth. Kevin Stone, doing what he needs to do here to hold on to third, but AJ Digby trying to take a big cut out of this. The difference was 2 points between second and third heading into tonight. Digby going to get some points for a bonus point for leading a lap, plus 2 spots ahead of Kevin Stone, right where he needs to be to take over that third place spot in points. The bonus points on offer, by the way. Race winner gets a bonus, gets 3 bonus points. You get a point for leading the most laps, point for leading 1 or more laps, and the fastest lap of the race also earns a bonus point. Currently, that bonus point going to go to Johnny Avila, and it looks like it will be his, quite frankly. 30.88 seconds. The best lap time. Only other guy who's been close all night, Mike Whiting at a 30.93. Everybody else in the 31-second bracket. And AJ Digby now running more than 1 second back of Johnny Avila. 26 to go. Oh, man, big moment there for the 43 of Richard Fletcher, just in front of the race leader.
Yeah, it's really Johnny Avila's race to lose right now. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, he can hold off AJ Digby. However, with the way these tires start to go towards the end of the run, he's really got to stay on that game of cannot make a mistake. Any little bobble he does is going to set him back so far. It's going to be a real battle with AJ Digby. As we see, as I'm looking at the ticker, AJ Digby is losing in the mid-corner, but he is gaining on Johnny Avila, both in the entry of the corners and exits and down the straightaways. So I almost want to take back my previous statement. Johnny Avila's really got to drive this thing and hold off AJ Digby because he is coming. Slowly but surely he is coming.
Well, taking a look at the lap time charts here. Laps 122 through 124 were all faster for Johnny Avila. The last 2 laps, AJ Digby has gained about a quarter of a second, and we'll see those laps tick up on the screen here. Another 10th off the board.
I was going to say, and this is what AJ Digby did the previous run. He saved the car at the beginning, lost a bunch of spots, just like Johnny Avila did, and then at the end, came in like he just strapped some nitrous or something to that thing, hit the button, and went. And that is exactly what he's doing right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he passes Johnny Avila like they're standing still with this run he's got built up so far.
Yeah, and quite frankly, Digby was the leader when we started the cycle of pit stops for the race leaders. You would think that that would play out in a similar fashion here with Digby able to close later in the run. And the lap traffic of Troy Haight probably isn't helping A.J. Digby a whole lot in Johnny Avila a whole lot in his fight to stay at the front of the field, because Haight is running on 20-plus lap fresher tires than what both Avila and Digby are running.
Yeah, and Troy Haight does not want to go another lap down. I was about to say he's going to fight for it, but it seems like he's just going to let Johnny Avila by. So hopefully he does the same for A.J. Digby, and we can get a good race on our hands toward the end of this one.
It'll be 20 laps to go next time by. 1 1/3 mile laps here around the Nashville Super Speedway. A place that was, quite frankly, left for dead after the NTT IndyCar Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series left. And it was, I don't want to say unused, because it was used as a test track. There were a variety of things that were on the property. And NASCAR got it in their head that they wanted to be in the Nashville market. They couldn't get the Fairgrounds Speedway up to snuff quick enough to get into the market. So they decided to bring the Cup cars back here to the Nashville Super Speedway for a star-studded country spectacular here this past season. And that's what got us the facility on the iRacing platform. And I'll tell you what, it's one of those places that I really enjoy driving. Some ovals get a little bit monotonous at times. This, to me, drives more like an Indianapolis, where every corner feels unique, and it's a different challenge every time you go around the racetrack.
Yeah, this is one of the, I don't want to say rare cases in ovals, but one of the fantastic cases in ovals where it's driver versus other driver versus car versus track. It is a battle on 4 fronts you're trying to fight, which the winner of any race at this racetrack should be considered a champion, just like anyone who wins the Indy 500 is considered Indy 500 champion, not Indy 500 winner. And this track has a very similar feel to that. And that's what makes a great racetrack. It's a shame NASCAR hasn't raced here for the past couple of years, but I'm glad they're coming back here.
Speaking of that, let's check in with the current weather conditions presented by our friends at the Weather Center. Man, that bottom number is 87-degree ambient temperature. Wind's going to be out of the north at 13 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. 118-degree track temperature. I think that's the second highest I've seen on here. Only the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar Series race from Sonoma that hit 125 was higher in terms of track temperature. But that really plays into how bad these tires are going to chew up.
Now, this track is concrete, correct?
Yes, it is.
That is really going to affect that. Concrete just pulls in heat. It doesn't want to dissipate it. And that really, really makes for a hot racing surface. It's kind of a similar condition you get with, like, Dover. Dover, if it was hotter most of the year in Delaware, you'd see very high temps like this at Dover. And Bristol, too, you sometimes see very hot temps. Although the Coliseum built around the racetrack kind of shields the track a little bit. Whereas here, you're completely open the entire way around.
Now inside of 15 laps to go, and Johnny Avila is, well, quite frankly, doing Johnny Avila things at the front of the field. Opening up a lead of now 2 seconds over A.J. Digby, who pretty clearly has seen the tires fall off the cliff, and he is dropping back pretty steadily here. In fact, not able to get past Troy Haight. However, not really in any danger of losing a position, as Tyler Seville has moved himself back up to the 3rd position, but running 12.5 seconds behind. In fact, Seville about a half a lap down to the race leader at this point.
Yeah, it's really just a race between Digby and Avila. And I don't know if Digby's got a trick up his sleeve, but if he does, he's got to start pulling it out now.
I'll tell you what, I think A.J. Digby may have gotten the safer barrier on the right-hand side of that race car at some point. trying to get a better look at it here. We'll see it as he comes across the line. Yeah, whole side of that car is scuffed up. So somewhere along the lines tonight, A.J. Digby making contact with the safer barrier. Battle for position, by the way, here. Richard Fletcher, Tony Patton doing battle for 7th and 8th. Patton on the outside, Fletcher on the inside of the racetrack. Man, Patton really drove that deep into 3 and 4. That was impressive. Something that I'm just noticing about Nashville, it does not have the narrowing effect that you see at a lot of these D-shaped and quad ovals, where the racetrack narrows in towards the outside retaining wall on corner exit. The track width may stay the same, but because of the momentum that the car carries, it kind of throws you up harder towards the outside wall. It was really pronounced when Texas Motor Speedway first opened. Drivers were not missing their lines, and they were hitting the outside wall on corner exit at turn 4. This kind of has that feeling of more of the ability to arc the car out of the corner.
Yeah, while it's tighter than all the 1.5 miles, because it's only 1.33 miles, they are very big sweeping corners. It almost reminds me of Chicagoland a little bit, where you're able to kind of sit in the pack. You can safely run side by side with another car and not worry about pushing up into them, which really is what makes this track just as fantastic as the race at Chicagoland have put on. I'm kind of disappointed we haven't seen a race at Chicagoland a little bit, just because of the D-shaped ovals being even more fantastic than the quad ovals. Especially, I wonder if that has more to do with the concrete surface of this track. Just because concrete tends to give you a little more grip than asphalt, although it gets hotter and chews up tires faster.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's take a look at go back to the onboard here with race leader Johnny Avila. Not having to do the clutch and coast, but you can definitely hear he's on the brakes and not nearly as quick back to the throttle.
Yeah, and that's another thing you can do on these ovals, is you can save fuel by lifting early, you can save fuel by clutching in, you can save fuel by hitting the brakes later, pulling the car in, and then hitting the gas later. There's so many things you can do to save fuel on the ovals, and that is kind of the advantage versus the road course. With the road courses, you really only have one option, and that is lift and coast. It's really two very, very different styles of racing, and that's one of the great strong points of oval racing, is just the ways you can play the racetrack, since the racetracks are much simpler than a road course, if you want to put it that way.
So down to 5 laps to go, and a night that has been a crowning achievement for Johnny Avila, claiming the Sim Racers Club Premier Series Championship with the start here this evening. Very much looks like it could end in victory lane, as the lead is now over 5 seconds. Back to second place, A.J. Digby. Tyler Seville is 20 seconds back. And they're running 31 and change, 32-second laps. Even Kevin Stone is not all that far from going a lap down here.
Now, with this lead he has, I'm going to be disappointed if he doesn't do what I did in all the old NASCAR video games when I was a kid, and spin the car out across the line when that checkered flag comes out, because he absolutely deserves it. He's going to be your series champion. He's going to get the win by probably 6 seconds here. So just spin her out coming across checkers, bud. It'd be fantastic.
The lead was 5 seconds. How about now 5.6 seconds as he gets back to turn number 1?
He is absolutely trucking around here. He is flying around the Speedway.
It's been an impressive run for Johnny Avila. Working his way inside of the 23 of Richard Smith. Could he put fourth place Kevin Stone a lap down as he's off of turn number 4? White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go here in the Sim Racers Club season. And, well, Johnny Avila made that one look easy. Up to fourth place, Kevin Stone, 1 lap down. Impressive is the only word that comes to mind here. And one of the few cars that may have done it without a scratch tonight. Off of turn number 4, checkered flag is in the air. Johnny Avila gets the championship and the win at Nashville. AJ Digby going to come home almost 7 seconds back in the second position. That was, man, just absolutely incredible performance tonight out of Johnny Avila.
He just showed everybody why he's the champion. He played chess this entire race. During the beginning, saved all the fuel he needed, drove himself not all the way to the back, but he let cars by, just kind of sat around, and towards the end of the race, absolutely proved why he's got a fast race car, and he is a fast driver. And here he is. Let's see the donuts burn this show down, Johnny.
One of the cool things is the entire Will Worsler Racing team joins in on the post-race celebrations here in Victory Lane. They're getting ready for the smoke show. Let's get you the race results here. Johnny Avila getting the win by 6.7 seconds over AJ Digby. Tyler Seville, Kevin Stone, and Mike Whiting round out your top 5. Only 3 cars finishing on the lead lap here tonight. Troy Haight, Tony Patton, Richard Fletcher, Richard Smith, and Tim Knott will complete the top 10. Mike Mcconville and Early did not finish due to illness tonight. Hopefully you are feeling well soon here, Mike, and look forward to getting you back on the racetrack. How about a Polish victory lap for the Will Worsler Racing team? That's how you do it. You win as a team, you're going to party as a team.
We see AJ Digby trying to take the lead this lap, so he could have gotten Johnny Avila.
And a fantastic look here. Second and third place, both making contact with the safer barrier. And Will Worsler Racing celebrating their team championship here this evening as well. And that's a big part of the game here in sim racing. And I know it's a sim, not a game, but my point is when you're playing the game of season-long championships, having teammates that you practice with week in and week out, you're bouncing setup ideas off each other, a lot of that kind of stuff, that really is a big key to the success of any driver.
And that is huge. In the team that I run with, we do a lot of the sports car racing, and the great thing about having a decent-sized team is one of us can go out in a GT car, the rest of us can be in prototype cars, and we could practice passing that GT car in very difficult section of the track. The more guys you have on that team, the better, because you can practice odd situations. You can say, okay, AJ, I want to practice passing you in turn 2 with you on dead fresh set of tires, and I want to have 40 laps in these things and see if I could still do it. And really, you do that throughout the entire course of a season, and you're going to be much better prepared for odd situations that come up during the race than the other guys who might be on a smaller team or might be on a less prepared team. Another big thing I've seen about Will Worsler Racing is these guys communicate very well with each other. And that's one thing I've mentioned this whole way through the season is communication is key, especially with a bigger team. You're not communicating with each other, there's no point being teammates, you're just hurting each other's performance at that point. And these guys have executed flawlessly this entire season.
Well, it was an impressive show this season, and let's bring in our race winner and season champion into the booth here for the champions interview. And I'll tell you what here, Johnny Avila, impressive run tonight. 7 seconds is a massive win, but quite frankly, the night matched the season in terms of dominating performances.
Yeah. I just wanted to perform well for my Gramps. Hopefully he was watching how the season went from upstairs. Hopefully he's proud. But in terms of the race, that first stint, I was leaning heavy on AJ because he's really good with the fuel calculations. So that first run, I was a little bit lower than him on fuel. So I was just trying to clutch it, and then he just kept driving away. I don't know how he was able to save fuel and drive that fast. Like, that was impressive.
The commenters in the on the stream were saying everything from big brain to monster brain move using the Alexander Rossi clutch and coast at each end of the racetrack. Was that the difference in being able to go as long as you did, and quite frankly, then having a fresher set of tires than everybody else in the field for the second half of the race?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest point because as soon as I got out to the lead on that first run, I think I saw I was like a second and a half ahead. I just started clutching from there. The biggest thing, though, was in the middle of turns 3 and 4. If I released the clutch too quick, it would just kick the car sideways. So it made it interesting trying to save.
Well, yeah, it was a fun race to watch for sure in terms of how the strategy games were going to play out. We kind of figured it would be a one-stop race once we saw the number was right about the halfway point. How difficult was it to manage the tires, though? Because it seemed like you got about 15, maybe 20 good laps out of them, and then they just fell off the cliff.
I wouldn't. Man, I don't know how to say this, but like, even when the tires wore out, the car somewhat began to be easier to drive. But I was cooking my right rear. Like on that first pit stop, my right rear was like 10% worse than everybody on my team. So like, I was just hanging on.
Well, it was a really impressive run. And final question here for you. Talk about the season a little bit. Closing it out in pretty epic fashion here, but you're going to wind up with, we're seeing 9 starts, 6 poles, 7 wins, 8 top 5s, and every race this season you finished inside the top 10. That is pretty epic levels of domination.
Yeah, that's it's hard to believe I was even able to pull that off. Like, I knew I had some speed, but this year I guess the cards kind of just fell my way. I don't know. It's pretty crazy to look back at it and see that kind of performance.
Well, I tell you what, you're hoping Grandpa's proud. I tell you what, that's something to be proud of there. And a very, very impressive season here. Hopefully we're going to see you back starting April 20th for the next season. And let's make sure you get all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs in before we let you go here, too.
I'll definitely be back. Going to see if I can defend the title. I know Tyler ain't gonna make it easy on me. Hopefully we can recruit and get some more people into this, make it more entertaining for everybody. And I'd just like to shout out the admins, Jordan Berry and like Sam Maxwell. Even when things were getting rough, they did everything in their power to keep this running as smoothly as possible. You guys up in the booth, every week, as soon as I finish these races, I always watch them back. It's great. You guys bring a really high quality product to watch back. And I got to thank my sponsor, Bulldog Roofworks. They've been with me throughout this whole season. We'll see if I bring them, if we're able to bring them back. And last but not least, I got to thank everybody on my team. Each week, they provide me useful information that I can lean on. I couldn't have done these races without them. Like tonight, with the fuel strategy, no way I'm saving enough fuel if AJ isn't reading me off the numbers. So I got to thank each and every single one of them.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations once again on getting a Sim Racers Club Premier Series championship, and we are definitely looking forward to talking to you again as we kick off next season. And let's actually bring in our runner-up finisher here tonight, Mr. AJ Digby. And I tell you what, buddy, almost everything you guys could have asked for tonight. Impressive showing for the entire Will Worsler racing team. Ultimately coming up just a little bit short there, the champ.
Yeah, really good race for the 14 car. It was a tough race. Very tough track, and I felt like I had the line that I wanted to be able to be very consistent at what I did and able to save fuel at the exact same time. So while some of the guys didn't even make it on fuel, some of the guys I know were also clutching it to make it on fuel. I was able to run nice and steady, never once used the clutch, and was comfortable on fuel the whole time. So knew that I had that long run car, fuel save car, and knew that I had a good chance at it. But also once I knew that Johnny made it an extra lap through all of his clutching at a lap or two, that he had enough speed, outright speed, to be able to get me in that second half. So tried to stay with him and probably pushed a little bit too hard in that middle stint. Probably should have backed out to about a second difference on the second behind him, because hanging around in that 0.6 range was just enough air to really screwed with my rear tire. So that second run, my rear tire wore about 10% more, and my left sides also wore a little bit more. So all in all, it was a really good race, though. This custom paints and diecast rocket ship was just that. And as I said last week, the more ellipses that this rocket ship went around the track, the faster it got, and that was definitely the case today, and probably my best showing so far on the year. Was able to lead a good bit of laps and be up at the front, actually in the lead this time instead of just at the bumper. So all in all, it was a very good day, and a very good day for the team. Top three and all on the lead lap as well for the top three. So it was all in all, like I said, a really good day, a lot to be proud of, but always want more, especially when you know it's possible.
Well, talk to us a little bit about that team aspect, and Johnny brought it up as well. You guys put a lot of effort into this. Patrick mentioned during the broadcast the communication that you guys have is really pretty incredible. Johnny talking about you feeding off fuel numbers throughout the course of the race. It's not as simple as run a practice session or two together, show up on race night, and everybody do their own thing.
Yeah, no, it's super collaborative, and that's part of what makes it very fun. I mean, we get along so well in the first place when we're not even talking about racing, but then we also are very collaborative and helpful racing, and I think that just makes it more fun. It makes us trust and like each other even more. I mean, if somebody finds speed one way, they're going to help and say, hey, this is what I did and this is what I found. And I was trying to help tell them how to save fuel, even though if I didn't, that probably would have helped my chances of winning. But I was trying to help them find the right let-off spots to save the most amount of fuel, and then also giving them the number that they needed to make it part way. And they were also helping me trying to find some more speed, and it's very collaborative, and it's a very, very team-oriented environment, and it's part of what makes it awesome. Especially for me, I had never raced this track. When they came here last year, I was gone at a track meet, so I was unable to compete that weekend at Nashville Super Speedway. So this was my first time actually on the track, was today's work, but they got me up to speed quick enough, and then I knew how to take care of the car in the long run. But yeah, like you said, awesome team environment. It makes the weekdays so much fun, and the races so much fun and so awesome to be part of.
Well, congratulations on a very nice third place finish here, and by my math, it should put you third in points as well. So not only a team championship, but a top 3 lockout for Will Worsler Racing in the driver's standings as well. Congratulations on a really spectacular season, and hopefully we're going to get to see you back here coming up in just a few weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really excited for it. You guys have done a fantastic job on the broadcast. I can't wait for that to continue. And I am also signed up for the IndyCar League that you guys also have broadcasted in the past. So excited to get a little bit more racing in and branch out a little bit. But yeah, ultimately got to thank the team, the guys, Custom Paints and Diecast for the awesome rocket ship all year. You guys for the broadcast, as I say every week. Sam and the Jordans for the league and everything that they do for it, and I'm really excited for the next season. They got a lot of good things going on. And then everybody in the race today that raced clean, respectable, hard, and made it a fun race, made it a fun event, caution-free.
All right, AJ, thank you very much. And by the way, that is the Ezra IndyCar Series coming up here in just a couple of weeks that we're going to get to see AJ run with us in. And let's bring in our third place finisher tonight, and we're going to keep the replay rolling here. So hopefully we can see some of the Polish team victory lap for Will Worsler Racing. But we'll talk to Tyler Seville, our third place finisher tonight. I'm going to throw an oddball number at you to start here. Congratulations on passing 19,000 miles of competition in Sim Racers Club action. You've been at this a long time with this league. Tell us a little bit about what the league means to you and what keeps you coming back.
Well, number one, it's my team. We all get along really great, and when nobody ever puts themselves above the team. So if one person wins, we feel like we all win. And then as far as like a league owner and league admin, I don't think that you can get any better than Sam Maxwell. He runs a great league, and he's very fair, I've found through the years. And he always gives us the tools to put on a great show.
Well, you put on a heck of a show here tonight, anywhere from first to third, ultimately a little bit of a miscue on the pit stop, costing you a little bit of time. But with the car driving the way it was tonight, there had to be a little bit of fun working your way back through the field after that.
Yeah, in that first stint where me, Johnny, and AJ were kind of like swapping the lead back and forth there, that's a lot of fun doing that while trying to save as much gas as possible. But yeah, that pit stop, I slid through my box a little bit, so I had to pass a couple cars. And then once I did, Johnny and AJ were just too far gone. So it's just kind of put it in ride mode then, just to make sure you save enough gas to make it to the end ultimately.
All in all, not a bad season. Johnny was pretty darn dominant, but you were a very close second in terms of performance numbers. 9 starts, 2 poles, 1 win, 7 top 5s, and 9 top 10 finishes when you factor in the drop weeks. Ordinarily, that's good enough to be very close to contending for a championship. What does it mean to be chasing down a guy like Johnny now? And I would imagine you guys are all going to start prepping fairly soon here for the next season coming up, starting in just a few weeks.
Yeah, it always seems like there's that one guy that dominates, and you just keep putting in the work, and hopefully one year it'll be you. I'm glad I was able to keep my win streak alive. But yeah, we're all really looking forward to the next season. Looking forward to keep these broadcasts going in the race, and yeah, we'll start preparing here soon, I assume.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations once again on a third-place finish tonight and a runner-up finish in the points standings. Let's make sure we get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in before we drop you out of here.
Yeah, I got to shout out Arch Telecom, my sponsor, my team, Will Worsler Racing. All of us had good runs today. Will should be back after this week. So he got his moving done. So we'll be back ready for this new season. All 5 cars running full steam, and hopefully dominate the season like we did this year.
Yeah, that was one. The boss man was not overly thrilled when they went full-time next gen. I'd imagine you guys are going to be working pretty hard to have him fully up to speed. And once again, congratulations, Tyler. It was a fantastic show that you guys put on this season. And I'll tell you what here, Patrick, as we get ready to close out the season of Sim Racers Club broadcast, we've said this multiple times. I would rather watch 11 pretty talented drivers battling it out as opposed to 40 guys that are going to spend some time wrecking. A lot of time wrecking. Back-to-back races with no cautions, and one of the metrics that Sam uses in dissecting the league performance is caution rates and percentage of laps run under caution. This might be the cleanest iRacing league I've ever seen.
Yeah, this league is fantastic. I mean, I've seen less cautions this whole season than I've seen it at NIS race at Martinsville in one single race, which is just absolutely absurd to me that anyone playing iRacing could be so clean. However, when you get to that point where there aren't a lot of cautions, usually when you get guys racing fantastic lows as these guys do, if you are a person that watches for the wrecks, the guys who race closer and race harder and know they won't wreck usually end up in more spectacular wrecks. Yes, you get them less frequently, but when they do wreck, it's always fantastic. So there's no complaints from any front on that part.
Yeah, we saw a variety of things go on this season. Looking back over the schedule here, opening the season at Daytona, Johnny Avila kicking things off with a win there. Daytona is always fun. Let's just call that what it is. Atlanta was a good race. Dover was a fantastic race. Auto Club Richmond. Vegas was insane with the way the cars were handling, the next-gen cars were handling there. Pocono put on a good show, obviously North Wilkesboro. It seemed like week after week we were going to get a good show out of the Sim Racers Club guys.
Yeah, I mean, they just prove you don't need a big field. You just need guys that know what they're doing and know how to race against each other. And that's what we got, and it was fantastic the whole way through. I can't wait for the next season, the next 2 seasons. It's going to be fantastic.
Yep, you're going to get to see both of those coming up here on the National Racing Network. We are very proud that we can announce that we will be handling the rest of the broadcasting. Well, I say mediocrity, but it's really the guys that put on the show here that for the Sim Racers Club that do the hard labor. And they were impressive as always this season. We are really looking forward to coming back for 2 more seasons right through the end of the 2022 calendar. Going to be a lot of fun, but they're going to take a few weeks off here. Come back on April the 20th to kick off 2022. I guess you'd say 2022 season 1 with this schedule overlapping the end of 21 and into 22 a little bit. But I can't believe we're already talking about racing in April. A lot of good stuff coming up here on the National Racing Network for the rest of this week. Indy Pro 2000 Championship coming up tomorrow night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But we kick the night off with a high side hustle with Burt Wojcik and Adam Rubright. They will be joined by the most recent winner for the Short Track Super Series Big Block Modifieds, Ryan Godown, and Hannah Newhouse, who's quite frankly everywhere. You'll find her on Dirt Vision for the Case Late Model Series, also on doing some work for NBC for Indy Lights and the IndyCar Series and IMSA. Very talented young lady and quite frankly a fantastic conversation with Burt and Adam. You will get to hear that one tomorrow night. And coming up next week, the Grid Rival Ezra IndyCar Series returns at 8:30 in the East. Monday night, we'll be back with the Fuel Premier Series, 8:35 p.m. in the East. Tuesday night, I think we don't have anything again. I think TNT is off for another week, but just a ton of content coming up here, and Well, we're getting ready to head off for Bradenton, Florida. Patrick and I will be down working the Freedom 500 with Cletus McFarland
Hell
and
yeah, brother.
his whole adventure of a show that one is. But we are very excited to get to help put that one on the air as well. You can find all the information on that one at CletusMcFarland.com. Until tomorrow night, for Patrick Byrne and everybody here at the National Racing Network, my name is Chris Graham. It has been a pleasure having you hang out with us. We will talk to you all soon. Have a good night, everybody.